to the Great American Purge. Thank you for your participation.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Real Report. I've got a good one for you today as we take a look at domestic issues and the United States culture as people become unhinged. To start things off, we've got some outrageous things to cover. Woman beheaded by man with a sword on Bay Area Street had restraining order against the guy who did it. This was 24 miles south of San Francisco, just steps away from the home containing her two daughters aged 1 and 7. Absolutely horrible. Of all places, what are the odds that it's Chicago doing this? Illinois set to eliminate cash bail in 2023. So as if the state couldn't be any more crime-ridden, hear this. This is mind-boggling, and my friend even called me about this, funny enough, as I started recording. Anyone sitting in jail right now with all these pending charges are going to be let out. That's from the Johnson County Sheriff. Now hear these. The gates are open and they're going to be let out onto the streets. The bill passed with support of upstate lawmakers. Proponents of the law say it's wrong to keep people locked up simply because they can't afford bail. Quote, there's a whole list of violent crimes, burglary, robbery, arson, kidnapping, drug offenses, even distribution, DUI offenses that involve a fatality that do not qualify for detention under the Illinois Safety Act. That's Illinois is the first state in the country to abolish cash bail. Now, in layman's terms, here's what it is. Illinois' non-detainable offenses beginning January 1st, 2023. Aggravated battery, aggravated DUI, aggravated fleeing, arson, burglary, drug-induced homicide, intimidation, kidnapping, robbery, second-degree murder, threatening a political official. Under this new law, after being charged with these crimes listed, those arrested would be released without bail pending a court date. Here's the House candidate here saying it.
Going to effect, and people need to be aware of this. It abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but isn't limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. Offenders released on electronic monitoring have to be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act. They could almost drive to Alaska before we can even look for them. It denies victims their constitutional rights. And keep this in mind, businesses and homeowners. Officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from your residence or your businesses.
They will no longer be removing trespassers from your residence or business. If that doesn't say you are on your own and you are your own first responder, everything is in your hands. I don't know how much clearer they can make that.
Someone could decide to live in your shed, and all we can do is give them a ticket. You have to decide what level of force is required to remove them and whether or not it's legal. This is a massive threat to the residents of Orland Park, Cook County, and Illinois.
Well, there you guys heard it. Absolute insanity. That's worth replaying, but I can simply let you guys rewind this video a minute and listen to it again, because it's most likely coming to a city near you. And speaking of insanity, Florida School Board votes down proposed LGBTQ month after heated meeting. That's something they wanted to impose. The measure would have recognized October as an official period of LGBTQ recognition in the district's schools and taught older students about 2 Supreme Court cases related to gay rights. Backers of the proposal argued the initiative would ease stigmas plaguing the community, with some public speakers likening opposition to LGBTQ issues being a big proponent in your schools, would liken them to Nazi marginalization of specific groups, which is just blatantly not true. So good on Florida for sticking up. Oh God, ads. Kids drag show at Boise Pride Festival facing backlash. The Boise Pride says kids drag. Okay, kids drag is a creative performance that empowers expression of identity. Dorothy Moon called it a perverse idea, to which most would agree. Most sane people would agree. A drag show for kids, an event at the Boise Pride Festival, has sparked backlash, rightfully so, from the Republican Party and far-right groups calling it inappropriate. Note that far-right groups, but children expressing themselves and their identities is empowering and builds confidence, says Boise Pride. The drag show for kids, which is separate from other drag performances, is scheduled to take place on Sunday at the Boise Pride Festival. The attention surrounding the event began on social media, with far-right groups calling to the protest the event. One post included a picture of a gun saying, "Can't expect God to do all the work." Absolute lunacy. And if things couldn't get any worse in our schools, the teachers union shuts down Seattle schools amid the worst learning loss in 30 years. That's right. After a vote in which 95% of unionized teachers choose to strike, Seattle Public Schools was forced to close its doors until the teachers union is ready to send teachers back to work. The union bragged about keeping children out of schools, attempting to make the argument that it is about meeting students' needs as opposed to the union's needs. They are a legal mob. Go watch Sopranos. That's not far off. The Seattle Education Association shut down public schools for the first day of classes just 1 week after the U.S. Department of Education announced the worst learning loss seen in the United States in 30 years. As our kids continue to perform worse in every single academic category due to the unknown origin virus from that 1 year. The school district announced dismal education numbers in which only 54% of 4th graders and 51% of 8th graders met or exceeded standards, while fewer than 50% of 11th graders met those standards. We're headed down a very dangerous, dark road. Memphis shooting, teen accused of killing 4, injuring 3 others in rampage streamed on Facebook. Democratic Las Vegas official arrested in murder of journalist Jeff German. That's right, Democratic Las Vegas official. Here we have slip up by social media giant allows Dem campaigns to access Republican voter data, which is completely coincidental, I'm sure, not intentional. And on other news, not so gloom, but could have the potential. Did anyone notice the distinct lack of a hurricane season this year? Hurricane Earl generating life-threatening rip currents along the East Coast, so keep an eye out on that as we get really the first major storm. Also, too, if it does become a big hurricane and wipes out a lot of homes and sucks up a lot of building materials, waste management, transformers we can't replace. It doesn't just have to be getting EMP'd. When the supply chain is this weak, you can't even repair cities due to natural disasters either. Anyway, as of Friday morning, Hurricane Earl was centered less than 200 miles east-northeast of Bermuda with maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour, a Cat 2 hurricane, so keep an eye on the weather. Georgia woman Caitlin Jensen moved to rehab after being left paralyzed from routine chiropractor visit. You guys have all seen those, quote, satisfying videos where they put the person's neck essentially in a saddle and just yank as hard as they can, and you can swear they would have died. Well, unfortunately, this woman was left paralyzed and unable to speak after receiving a routine neck adjustment, and a chiropractor has been transferred to the rehab facility. Anyway, she had 4 arteries in her neck dissected after a visit to a Savannah chiropractor on June 16th, which led to cardiac arrest, stroke, and traumatic brain injury. She had to spend weeks in the ICU from this chiropractic visit, so we very sorry to hear that. Doctors believe she suffered a stroke as a result of the neck manipulation, her mother said. So fortunately, they had a GoFundMe, which has raised over $100,000 so far. Godspeed, and hopefully she can make some form of recovery. Memphis police, back onto crime, sound alarm over 2 African-American suspects boasting of plan to kill white people, as they said, quote, "I'm fixin' to shoot a white old lady." That one was posted online by Andy Nago and by the Memphis Police Department. So don't take my words, take it from the Memphis Police Department. Uvalde gang-related shooting leaves 2 juveniles wounded at a park. It's no longer safe to leave your house is the common trend here. Violent crime in the U.S. is surging, but what we know about it what to do about it. They blame needing more gun control, etc. But to get down to the brass tacks, 562 citizens were murdered in just Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. That was an all-time high and 12% increase over 2020. In 2020, when killings were up by 40% already. So obviously crime, especially fatalities, are on an exponential rise. Nationally, police data suggests homicides rose 7% in 2021 and another 29%. So also, Philadelphia, there are at least 57 blocks in the city in which 10 or more people have been shot in the past 5 years. Cities, get out of them now. Food crisis, will America go hungry? Well, that's probably likely, as I'm not going to cover it in this report, but due to the fertilizer shortage, they're saying up to 40% of the wheat crop is going to be missing, so keep an eye on food as always and continue to stock up. Gallup poll, 56% of Americans say inflation causing financial hardship. That one's from CNS News. Price increase largely fueled by inflation are causing financial hardships for 56% of American households, reported from Gallup. This percentage is up from 45% in November 2021, nearly 1 year ago. And there's no sign of improvement on the immediate horizon. The scariest paper of 2022 reveals the terrifying fate of Biden's economy. Millions are about to lose their jobs. So 1 in 6, 20 million people can't pay their electric bills. A lot of people are about to be evicted. And now millions are about to lose their job all on top of it. So again, another data point. At some point, the Fed will concede it has no control over supply. That's when we'll start getting leaks of raising the inflation target. To remind readers of this coming phase shift, we almost recently warned in June of just that, a little over 1 year after nobody expected the Fed would be hiking rates like a drunken sailor until sometime in late 2023 or 2024. It has now become fashionable to not only predict that the Fed will keep hiking rates at every FOMC meeting and at the fastest pace since near hyperinflation of the 1980s. Also, even though every single Fed tightening cycle since 1913, noteworthy, has ended in disaster. Hopping into the end here, we got one more after this. No tech for Google Amazon workers protest AI contract with Israel. Google and Amazon workers have staged protests around the United States to speak out against the two tech giants' cloud contracts with the Israeli regime, warning that Tel Aviv would use the technology for spying activities. I'll pick your poison. If it's not TikTok and the Chinese, then it's Google and Amazon with Israel. I suppose I would rather have the latter. Preferably neither, but you know what I mean. And to wrap this up, Joe Biden at the DNC event, MAGA Republicans threaten our very democracy. Now, you guys probably saw his red-filled Stalin-esque speech, which had a very V for Vendetta and Hitler-type vibe. I'm not going to comment too much on that due to the platform I'm currently speaking on, but here everyone has seen this now. Famous photo of him saying, "We're literally in a battle for America's soul." I know I've been saying it for 1.5 years, but I mean it. Extreme MAGA Republicans just don't threaten our personal economic rights. They embrace political violence. They threaten our very democracy. Meanwhile, they're sifting through Melania Trump's unmentionables drawer at Mar-a-Lago. Absolutely disgusting. And using the military in the background here is not allowed, but anyway, if you guys find anything of interesting, please leave a like, comment down below any interesting thoughts or concerns, and hit that subscribe button, share with friends and family, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good weekend.